Staying home felt like relief. Not laziness, not fear, pure relief. And then you check your phone. The notification pings. Did you see that play? Are you watching the game? And you feel nothing. You feel a strange, hollow silence. Not because you dislike the game, but because you are entirely disconnected from the legacy frenzy surrounding it. Now here is the part nobody tells you. You have been reading this wrong your entire life. You are not antisocial. You are not broken. You are experiencing a fundamentally different shift in human psychology. A college student once described sitting in a packed living room during a major championship game. The clock hit 0. Everyone screamed. Everyone jumped. Friends were hugging. Some were literally crying tears of joy. And all he could do was sit on the couch, staring at the floor, thinking, why do I feel like I'm watching people speak a language I never learned? It is a terrifying feeling, to be in a room filled with people you love, yet feeling utterly, completely alone. You fake a smile, you nod along with them, but inside, the panic sets in. You wonder if you are missing a core human piece, a broken gear inside you. The silence feels like shame. For years, people who felt this way assumed they lacked a core piece of the human social apparatus. But behavioral scientists have recently uncovered something stranger. The human brain isn't losing its capacity for tribal passion. It's doing something much more radical. It's rewriting what a tribe even looks like. Stay with me. Soccer now has 5 billion fans, more than any sport in human history, from 2 billion in the 1980s to 5 billion today. Fandom exploded, but it also mutated. In the 1980s, fandom was geographic. It was tactile. You supported the team because you were born in that zip code. It was a physical inheritance. Psychologists call this extrinsic belonging, a loyalty handed down to you by default, like a family heirloom you never asked for. But for digital natives, researchers believe digital environments may encourage a completely different internal wiring. Our attention systems are no longer anchored by static regional loyalties. They are adapted for high-frequency, decentralized, authentic engagement. Consider a teenager in Chicago whose entire family has worn the same team jersey for 3 generations. Every Sunday is an unwritten law. You sit, you watch, you cheer. But one afternoon, he realizes he doesn't actually care who wins. He realizes he is merely performing. He's pretending to care about a color palette and a corporate logo, just to feel close to his father. And here is the first major psychological twist. When you look at a stadium erupting on a screen, and it feels like an artificial, highly monetized ritual, your brain isn't being cold or detached. Some psychologists suggest that digital native minds may develop a heightened sensitivity to inherited social structures. You aren't failing to connect. Your mind is actively filtering out an external tribe it didn't choose, because it is seeking something deeper. But that raises a massive question. If the brain rejects the stadium, where does all that unused tribal energy go? Does it just wither away into loneliness? Neuroscientists tracking cognitive engagement found a bizarre anomaly. The exact same neural pathways that light up in a diehard sports fan, the massive surges of dopamine, the deep identity integration, the intense communal bond, activate perfectly in people who have absolutely zero interest in sports. They found that the human need for a tribe hasn't shrunk by a single millimeter. Instead, it has migrated. The person who sits silently through the World Cup might spend hours completely locked in a state of high-focus flow, a deep neurological phenomenon outlined by psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. They find it inside a niche Discord community, a complex strategy game, or a global collaborative art project. To the outside world, they look isolated. To the brain scanner, they are experiencing the exact same profound sense of tribal euphoria as someone sitting front row at the Super Bowl. Think of a young woman who felt completely invisible throughout high school because she didn't fit into the local social hierarchy. She didn't go to the games. She didn't join the rallies. But at night, she was co-authoring an intricate digital narrative with 3 people in Tokyo, London, and Berlin. She wasn't running away from community. She was building one across oceans in milliseconds. This completely upends how we look at social anxiety and modern isolation. What if the generational gap aren't about young people becoming lonelier? What if it's about the old world broadcasting a frequency that the modern mind simply no longer tunes into? To understand this fully, look at how identity formation changed. In the 20th century, Psychologist Henri Tajfel introduced a framework called social identity theory. It proved that human beings derive their self-worth directly from the groups they belong to. But for decades, that belonging was completely passive. Identity was a product of your physical geography. You were your town. You were your local team. You inherited yourself by default. But modern identity is built differently. It is not inherited anymore. It is actively constructed. Digital natives do not accept off-the-shelf, pre-packaged cultural identities. They curate them piece by piece, interest by interest, subculture by subculture. A traditional sports team is a rigid, unyielding institution. But your mind is looking for a blank canvas. You do not want to bend your identity to fit a massive legacy brand. You want to find communities that flex to mirror your true internal world. The ancient evolutionary drives have not vanished from our biology. The human brain still deeply craves high-stakes competition. It still craves social status. It still craves deep collaborative mechanics. But those exact primitive drives have silently migrated. The obsessive statistical tracking of fantasy sports leagues? It is structurally identical to a competitive gamer analyzing frame data. The fierce, defensive tribal loyalty of European football clubs. It looks exactly like the frenzied devotion surrounding modern creator fandoms. The sudden adrenaline rush of a last-minute stadium victory. It perfectly matches the collective high of a niche online community solving a massive digital mystery together. We have not abandoned the stadium. We have simply built millions of invisible, hyper-specific stadiums right inside our pockets. 10 years ago, a teenager who felt zero passion for the local sports team would have slipped through the cracks. They would have spent their Friday nights wandering school hallways, feeling fundamentally broken, deeply detached, and profoundly, completely isolated. They were a tribe of one. But history has shifted beneath our feet. Today, that exact same individual doesn't have to compromise. They can open an app, type in a hyper-niche interest, and instantly find 50,000 people who share their exact obscure mental fixation. They no longer have to force themselves to speak an outdated cultural language just to survive socially. Think about that traditional sports broadcast. 2 hours of dead air, commercial interruptions, and corporate logos plastered over every patch of grass. To a mind adapted to the hyper-targeted depth of the internet, this doesn't feel like a community. It feels like a slow-motion simulation. Data shows that over half of younger viewers don't watch full games anymore. They don't want the corporate packaging. They want the raw human narrative. They look for short-form clips, micro-trends, and individual creator commentary. They don't follow the geographic jersey, they follow the individual human story. They call it losing interest. We call it finding belonging in a different way. The next time the stadium roars and you feel that familiar hollow silence, do not run from it. Do not force yourself to fake the passion. Sit with the silence. Sit with the truth that you are not broken. You are just precisely connected to a network of your own choosing. Look at your own life right now. What is the one niche, the one hobby, game, or digital subculture that gives you that deep, intense feeling of belonging those traditional spaces never could? Tell me in the comments. Let's see how many of us share the exact same invisible tribe. If this finally explained how your mind processes the world, click subscribe. The psychology you've been searching for is right here.